Welcome to George MacDonald and Us. This is Catherine.
This is Sean.
And today on the George MacDonald and Us podcast, we will be finishing reading The Giant's Heart, which is a short story and really a fairy tale by George MacDonald. It is found in his The Complete Fairy Tales that Penguin Classics published. Last time on the podcast, we read roughly the first half of it and then discussed the work, and so it will be the same format this time. I will read the rest of this fairy tale, and then we will see what happens in terms of the discussion. Sean, you've got your pipe lit.
Yeah, I'm smoking a new pipe that I got. I didn't think I was going to get one this year. I've kind of made a tradition of getting one for Christmas every year, and it just happened that I found a good price on one at Etsy shop. AKubitzDesign is the name. I was actually the first customer of his, but pipe was $50, and it's like smokes as good as my much more expensive pipe, so check it out. AKubitzDesign. He's from Omaha, Nebraska, which is also cool.
I think it's because he's from Omaha that it's such a good pipe.
Yeah, absolutely.
We went to Omaha. I went to Omaha for the first time in my life over Thanksgiving. We didn't spend Thanksgiving there, but it was the weekend, and we took a family trip there, and I just fell in love with that city. It's a magical place, and so it's no wonder there are just magical finds there for pipes. Yeah, we'll have a link to his shop in the show notes for you. And I am drinking, it's Morgan Creek Vineyard, which is a local vineyard to us, and it's St. Wenceslas, which when I saw there was a St. Wenceslas wine, I had to get it. It's a little sweet for me. I mean, it's fine. It's a joyful little wine. It kind of reminds me of house wines in restaurants in Italy, I guess. But I love the name, St. Wenceslas. I love St. Wenceslas, and I love the song, Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. But we're not in Christmas anymore. We're in Lent as of this recording, so there's that. I thought about giving up alcohol this year, but I've just been pregnant too many times over Lent to do that.
It's not worth it, yeah.
No. Yeah, so, and I'm breastfeeding, so my Lent is I think it's a little more reflective this year. I'm not sure how much abstinence I'll do this year for Lent because I am breastfeeding, and this is my last baby, so it's not like I'll have another Lent like this in the future, so I'm just going to embrace it while it's here. But, yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, here is the rest of The Giant's Heart. And I also just wanted to say I have not read the rest of this. I did read the first half before we recorded, but this time I have no idea what's going to happen. So I'm really, knowing how tricky George MacDonald is, I'm really interested to hear how this whole affair with giants eating boys and the giant's heart is in an eagle's nest and they're talking to birds and how this is all going to pan out. So, "Selfish bird," said Buffy. "It's all very well for larks to go hunting the sun, but they have no business to despise their neighbors for all that." "Can I be of any use to you?" said a sweet bird voice out of the nest. This was the lark's wife, who stayed at home with the young larks while her husband went to church. "Oh, thank you, if you please," answered Trixie Wee, and up popped a pretty brown head, and then came up a brown feathery body, and last of all came the slender legs onto the edge of the nest. There she turned, and looking down into the nest, from which came a whole litany of chirpings for breakfast, said, "Lie still, little ones." Then she turned to the children. "My husband is king of the larks," she said. Buffy Bob took off his cap, and Trixie Wee curtsied very low. "Oh, it's not me," said the bird, looking very shy. "I am only his wife. It's my husband." And she looked up after him into the sky, whence his song was still falling like a shower of musical hailstones. Perhaps she could see him. "He's a splendid bird," said Buffy Bob. Only, he will get up a little too early. Oh, no, he doesn't. It's only his way, But tell me what I can do for you. Tell us, please, Lady Lark, where the she-eagle lives that sits on giant Thunderclap's heart. Oh, that is a secret. Did you promise not to tell? No, but larks ought to be discreet. They see more than other birds. But you don't fly up high like your husband, do you? Not often, but it's no matter. I come to know things for all that. Do tell me, and I will sing you a song, said Trixie Wee. Can you sing too? You have got no wings. Yes, and I will sing you a song I learned the other day about a lark and his wife. Please do, said the lark's wife. Be quiet, children, and listen. Trixie Wee was very glad she happened to know a song which would please the lark's wife, at least whatever the lark himself might have thought of it, if he had heard it. So she sang. Good morrow, my lord, in the sky alone, sang the lark as the sun ascended his throne. Shine on me, my lord, I only am come, of all your servants, to welcome you home. I have flown a whole hour right up, I swear, to catch the first shine of your golden hair. Must I thank you then, said the king, Sir Lark, for flying so high and hating the dark? You ask a full cup for half a thirst. Half is love of me, and half love to be first. There's many a bird that makes no haste, but waits till I come, that's as much to my taste. And the king hid his head in a turban of cloud, and the lark stopped singing quite vexed and cowed. But he flew up higher and thought anon, the wrath of the king will be over and gone, and his crown shining out of its cloudy fold will change my brown feathers to a glory of gold. So he flew with the strength of a lark he flew, but as he rose, the cloud rose too, and not a gleam of the golden hair came through the depth of the misty air, till, weary with flying and sighing sore, the strong sun-seeker could do no more. His wings had no chrism of gold, and his feathers felt withered and worn and old. So he quivered and sank and dropped like a stone, and there on his nest, where he left her alone, sat his little wife on her little eggs, keeping them warm with wings and legs. Did I say alone? Ah, no such thing, full in her face was shining the king. Welcome, Sir Lark, you look tired, said he. Up is not always the best way to me. While you have been singing so high and away, I've been shining to your little wife all day. He had set his crown all about the nest, and out of the midst shone her little brown breast. And so glorious was she in russet gold, that for wonder and awe Sir Lark grew cold. He popped his head under her wing and lay as still as a stone, till the king was away. As soon as Trixie Wee had finished her song, the lark's wife began a low, sweet, modest little song of her own, and after she had piped away for 2 or 3 minutes, she said, You dear children, what can I do for you? Tell us where the she-eagle lives, please, said Trixie Wee. Well, I don't think there can be much harm in telling such wise, good children, said Lady Lark. I am sure you don't want to do any mischief. Oh, no, quite the contrary, said Buffy Bob. Then I'll tell you. She lives on the very topmost peak of Mount Skycrack, and the only way to get up is to climb on the spider's webs that cover it from top to bottom. That's rather serious, said Trixie Wee. But you don't want to go up, you foolish little thing. You can't go. And what do you want to go up for? That is a secret, said Trixie Wee. Well, it's no business of mine, rejoined Lady Lark, a little offended and quite vexed that she had told them. So she flew away to find some breakfast for her little ones, who by this time were chirping very impatiently. The children looked at each other, joined hands, and walked off. In a minute more, the sun was up, and they soon reached the outside of the tree. The bark was so knobby and rough and full of twigs that they managed to get down, though not without great difficulty. Then, far away to the north, they saw a huge peak, like the spire of a church, going right up into the sky. They thought this must be Mount Skycrack and turned their faces towards it. As they went down, they saw a giant or two, now and then, striding about the fields or through the woods, but they kept out of their way. Nor were they in much danger, for it was only one or two of the border giants that were so very fond of children. At last they came to the foot of Mount Skycrack. It stood in a plain alone and shot right up. I don't know how many 1,000 feet into the air, a long, narrow, spear-like mountain. The whole face of it, from top to bottom, was covered with a network of spiders' webs, the threads of various sizes, from that of silk to that of whipcord. The webs shook and quivered and waved in the sun, glittering like silver. All about ran huge, greedy spiders, catching huge, silly flies and devouring them. Here they sat down to consider what could be done. The spiders did not heed them, but ate away at the flies. Now at the foot of the mountain and all around it was a ring of water, not very broad, but very deep. As they sat watching them, one of the spiders, whose web was woven across the water, somehow or other lost his hold and fell in on his back. Trixie Wee and Buffy Bob ran to his assistance, and laying hold each of one of his legs, succeeded with the help of the other legs, which struggled spiderfully, in getting him out upon dry land. As soon as he had shaken himself and dried himself a little, the spider turned to the children, saying, "And now, what can I do for you?" "Tell us, please," they said, "how we can get up the mountain to the she-eagle's nest." "Nothing is easier," answered the spider. "Just run up there and tell them all I sent you, and nobody will mind you." "But we haven't got claws like you, Mr. Spider," said Buffy. "Ah, no more you have, poor unprovided creatures. Still, I think we can manage it. Come home with me." "You won't eat us, will you?" said Buffy. "My dear child," answered the spider in a tone of injured dignity, "I eat nothing but what is mischievous or useless. You have helped me, and now I will help you." The child rose at once, and climbing as well as they could, reached the spider's nest in the center of the web. Nor did they find it very difficult, for whenever too great a gap came, the spider, spinning a strong cord, stretched it just where they would have chosen to put their feet next. He left them in his nest after bringing them 2 enormous honey bags taken from bees that he had caught. But presently about 6 of the wisest of the spiders came back with him. It was rather horrible to look up and see them all around the mouth of the nest, looking down on them in contemplation, as if wondering whether they would be nice eating. At length one of them said, "Tell us truly what you want with the eagle, and we will try to help you." Then Trixie Wee told them that there was a giant on the borders who treated little children no better than radishes, and that they had narrowly escaped being eaten by him, that they had found out that the great she-eagle of Mount Skycrack was at present sitting on his heart, and that if they could only get hold of the heart, they would soon teach the giant better behavior. "But," said their host, "if you get at the heart of the giant, you will find it as large as one of your elephants. What can you do with it?" "The least scratch will kill it," replied Buffy Bob. "Ah, but you might have to do better than that," said the spider. "Now we have resolved to help you. Here is a little bag of spider juice. The giants cannot bear spiders, and this juice is dreadful poison to them. We are all ready to go up with you and drive the eagle away. Then you must put the heart into this outer bag and bring it down with you, for then the giant will be in your power." "But how we can do that?" said Buffy. "The bag is not much bigger than a pudding bag." "But it is as large as you will be able to carry." "Yes, but what are we going to do with the heart?" "Put it into the bag, to be sure. Only first you must squeeze a drop out of the other bag upon it. You will see what will happen." "Very well, we will do as you tell us," said Trixie Wee. "And now, if you please, how shall we go?" "Oh, that's our business," said the first spider. "You come with me, and my grandfather will take your brother. Get up." So Trixie Wee mounted on the narrow part of the spider's back and held fast, and Buffy Bob got on the grandfather's back. And up they scrambled over one web after another, up and up so fast, and every spider followed, so that when Trixie Wee looked back, she saw a whole army of spiders scrambling after them. What can we want with so many, she thought, but she said nothing. The moon was up now, and it was a splendid sight below and around them. All Giant Land was spread out under them, with its great hills, lakes, trees, and animals, and all above them was the clear heaven, and Mount Skycrack rising into it, with its endless ladders of spider webs glittering like cords made of moonbeams. And up the moonbeams went, crawling and scrambling and racing, a huge army of huge spiders. At length they reached all but the very summit, where they stopped. Trixie Wee and Buffy Bob could see above them a great globe of feathers that finished off the moon like an ornamental knob. "But how shall we drive her off?" said Buffy. "We'll soon manage that," answered the grandfather spider. "Come on, you, down there." Up rushed the whole army, past the children, over the edge of the nest, and onto the she-eagle, and buried themselves in her feathers. In a moment she became very restless and went pecking about with her beak. All at once she spread out her wings with a sound like a whirlwind and flew off to bathe in the sea. And then the spiders began to drop from her in all directions on their gossamer wings. The children had to hold fast to keep the wind of the eagle's flight from blowing them off. As soon as it was over, they looked into the nest, and there lay the giant's heart, an awful and ugly thing. "Make haste, child," said Trixie's spider. So Trixie took her bag and squeezed the drop out of it upon the heart. She thought she heard the giant give a far-off roar of pain, and she nearly fell from her seat with terror. The heart instantly began to shrink. It shrunk and shriveled till it was nearly gone, and Buffy Bob caught it up and put it into his bag. Then the two spiders turned and went down again as fast as they could. Before they got to the bottom, they heard shrieks of the she-eagle over the loss of her egg. The spiders told them not to be alarmed, for her eyes were too big to see them. By the time they reached the foot of the mountain, all the spiders had gone home and were busy again catching flies, as if nothing had happened. After renewed thanks to their friends, the children set off, carrying the giant's heart with them. If you should find it at all troublesome, just give it a little more spider juice directly, said the grandfather as they took their leave. Now the giant had given an awful roar of pain the moment they anointed his heart, and had fallen down in a fit, in which he lay so long that all the boys might have escaped if they had not been so fat. One did, and got home in safety. For days the giant was unable to speak. The first words he uttered were, "Oh, my heart, my heart." "Your heart is safe enough, dear," Thunderclap said his wife. "Really, a man of your size ought not to be so nervous and apprehensive. I am ashamed of you." "You have no heart, Doodlem," he answered. "I assure you that at this moment mine is in the greatest danger. It has fallen into the hands of foes, though who they are I cannot tell." Here he fainted again, for Trixie Wee, finding the heart beginning to swell a little, had given it the least touch of spider juice. Again he recovered and said, "Dear Doodlem, my heart is coming back to me. It is coming nearer and nearer." After lying silent for hours, he exclaimed, "It is in the house! I know!" And he jumped up and walked about looking in every corner. As he rose, Trixie Wee and Buffy Bob came out of the hole in the tree root and through the cat hole in the door and walked boldly towards the giant. Both kept their eyes busy watching him. Led by the love of his own heart, the giant soon spied them and staggered furiously towards them. "I will eat you, you vermin," he cried. "Here with my heart." Trixie gave the heart a sharp pinch. Down fell the giant on his knees, blubbering and crying and begging for his heart. "You shall have it if you behave yourself properly," said Trixie. "How shall I behave myself properly?" asked he, whimpering. "Take all those boys and girls and carry them home at once." "I'm not able to. I'm too ill. I should fall down." "Take them up directly." "I can't till you give me my heart." "Very well," said Trixie, and she gave the heart another pinch. The giant jumped to his feet, and catching up all the children, thrust some into his waistcoat pockets, some into his breast pocket, put 2 or 3 into his hat, and took a bundle of them under each arm. Then he staggered to the door. All this time, poor Doodlem was sitting in her armchair, crying and mending a white stocking. The giant led the way to the borders. He could not go so fast but that Buffy and Trixie managed to keep up with him. When he reached the borders, they thought it would be safer to let the children find their own way home, so they told him to set them down. He obeyed. "Have you put them all down, Mr. Thunderthump?" asked Trixie Wee. "Yes," said the giant. "That's a lie," squeaked a little voice, and out came a head from his waistcoat pocket. Trixie Wee pinched the heart till the giant roared with pain. "You're not a gentleman? You tell stories," she said. "He was the thinnest of the lot," said Thunderthump, crying. "Are you all there now, children?" asked Trixie. "Yes, ma'am," returned they, after counting themselves very carefully and with some difficulty, for they were all stupid children. "Now," said Trixie Wee to the giant, "will you promise to carry off no more children, and never to eat a child again all your life?" "Yes, yes, I promise," answered Thunderthump, sobbing. "And you will never cross the borders of Giantland?" "Never." "You shall never again wear white stockings on Sunday all your life long. Do you promise?" The giant hesitated at this and began to expostulate, but Trixie Wee, believing it would be good for his morals, insisted, and the giant promised. Then she required of him that when she gave him back his heart, he should give it to his wife to take care of for him forever after. The poor giant fell on his knees and began to beg, but Trixie Wee gave the heart a slight pinch. He bawled out, "Yes, yes, Doodlem shall have it, I swear. Only she must not put it in the flour barrel or in the dust hole." "Certainly not. Make your own bargain with her, and you promise not to interfere with my brother and me, or to take any revenge for what we have done?" "Yes, yes, my dear children, I promise everything. Do pray make haste and give me back my poor heart." "Wait there, then, till I bring it to you." "Yes, yes, only make haste, for I feel very faint." Trixie Wee began to undo the mouth of the bag, but Buffy Bob, who had got very knowing on his travels, took out his knife with the pretense of cutting the string, but in reality to be prepared for any emergency. No sooner was the heart out of the bag than it expanded to the size of a bullock, and the giant, with a yell of rage and vengeance, rushed on the 2 children who had stepped sideways from the terrible heart. But Buffy Bob was too quick for Thunderthump. He sprang to the heart and buried his knife in it up to the hilt. A fountain of blood spouted from it, and with a dreadful groan the giant fell dead at the feet of little Trixie Wee, who could not help being sorry for him after all. Well, I was happy that it followed for me the pattern of most fairy tales where the evil is in fact destroyed by the heroes in the end. And I have more to say about that, but I was a little bit worried. I was getting nervous. I don't know. I did want them to kill the giant. And I like that Trixie Wee didn't feel like she had to, because, and I think this follows fairy tale patterns too, where it's like the hero sort of becomes the evil character, but in the golden way. And so Trixie Wee becomes as powerful as a giant. Like, she pinches the giant. Like, she's no idiot. Like, she pinches his heart. And I love that. She's like, very well. And she gives the heart a pinch. And so she has taken on his power. So I can see where she doesn't feel like she has to kill the heart, but I love how it makes the comment that because Buffy Bob has lived enough life or has gone out and explored enough, that he draws his knife and he's like ready for it. And I love that he is the one that kills it. It reminds me, and maybe it's just because I'm really studying this fairy tale right now, but it does remind me a lot of Fitcher's Bird or Bluebeard. And I'll put links to those fairy tales in the show notes, but it's kind of a similar theme, I think.
What is similar? I don't know
Well,
that.
I'll just say Bluebeard, I guess, but he's a man or a sorcerer, or a man, or I might be conflating Fitcher's bird and Bluebeard. Anyway, they're very similar, and they marry 3 sisters one at a time. And the first sister that Bluebeard marries, he brings her to his home, and he lives in a beautiful, rich home. I mean, it's fancy, and it kind of reminds me of the Giants' White Sox. Like, it's, you know, this highfalutin thing, and he gives her keys to every room in the house, but he says, do not go in this one room. And of course he leaves, and she goes in there, and she sees it's full of the bodies of dead women that he's married and hacked to pieces. And I think in one of the versions she drops an egg that he has given her, and it gets blood on it, and she cannot wipe the blood off. And so when Bluebeard returns, he sees the bloody egg, and so then he chops her to bits. And then the second thing happens to the next sister. Well, the third sister goes into the room, but she locks the egg away, and so she doesn't have the egg with her, and so he has no idea that she is has gone into this room. But she pieces her sisters together and brings them back to life, and then she tricks Bluebeard into carrying them back to safety, and then her brothers come and kill Bluebeard or burn the house down. And so it's just interesting that there's an eagle sitting on a nest that has an egg figure, which is the giant's heart, and then the brother is the one who kills Bluebeard, and
they rescue the other kids.
They rescue the other kids, yeah. And I don't know if I want to get in all of this now, but it's very much a story of the dark masculine and how that can be so destructive, and how there's I don't know, you've got to work with the dark feminine, which I think is represented by the spiders. It's interesting that the spiders are so helpful in the story. But I saw again, and maybe this is where I'll start in our discussion, where the spiders don't want to eat Trixie Wee and Buffy Bob because they're not stupid. There's a comment that the spider makes where he's almost offended that they think he's gonna eat them, and he's like, I only eat stupid things. And it's similar to the giant's attitude, or at least Doodlum's attitude that we talked about in the first half, where she kind of convinces herself that the boys are pigs because they act like that. And so there is that theme. And I guess it's it's really true for all these fairy tales like Bluebeard too, because it takes the wise sister to lock the egg away. But I think if we internalize the fairy tale, it's how many times do we have to make a mistake before we become wise about it? We could be the boys acting like pigs so many times until we finally become wise like Buffy Bob and Trixie Wee.
Yeah, it was interesting that only one of the boys rescued himself.
Yeah.
Because they were all too fat.
Yes. That part did kind of make me laugh. It's just one of them went home. Maybe it's to show the progression of sometimes we can start out as pigs, and then if we're lucky we get home, but then hopefully you get to the point where you can act like Trixie Wee and Buffy Bob in a situation where you just feel like you keep failing over and over and over again. I just thought there was a lot of humor. The spiders made me laugh, how they were dignified as spiders, and the grandfather is leading this army, and they can get in the feathers of this eagle. Oh yes, birds are very prominent in these fairy tales that deal with the dark masculine. What's that other one called? Well, Fitcher's bird is obvious. There's the heroine douses herself with honey and feathers, which I think honey is used in this fairy tale too, right? Don't the spiders have
honey bags.
Yeah, they have honey bags. Yes. I love that.
Cool.
I just love that.
That they got from bees.
Yeah. I love that. I love that detail. I'm just trying to remember what this other fairy tale is called. Oh dear. That has a bird. Like it's they end up writing the enchanted serpent princesses. What is it, like Falcon or something? Or
Well, I thought it was interesting that the giant's wife didn't really do anything to protect him, or she kind of just dismissed his whole, situation. I thought that was kind of interesting.
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like maybe she saw the whole thing coming, and she just kind of thought, okay, well, you know what, this is this is what you wanted, kind of, or I mean, this is the result of your actions, like, and I love that Trixie Wee wants him to give it to Doodlem to look after. I really love that. And I think the song that Trixie Wee sings to the Lark's wife fits in with that theme where, and this is part of the dark masculine, where men, I think when they block out the feminine, they're too high in the sky, and they're looking for this great thing. They're looking for the next best thing. They're looking for greatness or for power. And in the poem or in the song, it's actually within the comfort of the nest, of the feminine nest. And the nest is a very powerful image used in a lot of fairy tales, actually, to destroy the evil of the dark masculine. You're usually running into golden eggs or golden hens with eggs. So I just feel like Trixie Wee wanting the giant to give his wife the heart reflects that theme that's found in the poem, or the song that Trixie Wee sings to the Lark's wife. And I also love that that's what convinces the Lark's wife to tell her the secret. Like she also, in singing this song about the king being with the Lark's wife the whole time and giving her the crown, does play to her vanity a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
Which I also love. Like, there's so many themes woven in here. I really love this fairy tale.
Lots of humor.
But what is interesting about you with him and the giant's wife, or what else do you think about that?
I guess it was interesting she didn't try to save him or anything. Like you said, I think she maybe knew like this was gonna be what happened to him. And it was kind of his own bed that he made a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. But still kind of interesting that, she didn't like run after him and try to save him or anything.
Yeah, because in the first part of the story, she has like begged him to let her keep his heart.
Yeah, it's almost like she just kind of had given up on him.
Yeah. I mean, she's crying, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I think she was crying.
Yeah.
And maybe she was hoping that that Trixie Wee would prevail and turn him around.
Yeah.
It gave him a chance to anyway. She did.
Yeah, and if anybody could have, it would have been Trixie Wee, honestly. And I wonder if that's why the giant's wife did spare the children, or hoped that they would escape. Like, I think with these stories of the dark masculine, there's always some little crack that unfolds the events to their assimilation and then their destruction. And it's interesting that it's Mount Skycrack.
Yeah.
The little crack.
The whole white
Mountain.
stocking thing, like she made him say that he was going to wear white stockings again and he didn't want to.
I know, I loved that because I really hated the fact that I just thought it was like, that really got to me, that he made such a big deal about white stockings while eating boys in the first story. Or yeah, I love that. That detail was in there in the end.
Yeah, and Trixie Wee said that it would be good for him morally or something.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. He makes a point of saying like the children care about morality, and I guess I can see that in our oldest at least. I mean, I think our daughter is not to that point yet, but our oldest for sure has wanted justice, and he's wanted fairness. Although she does actually, I should say this. I think she does. I think it's just about different things. Yeah, I just really did not know what to expect. I mean, the spiders were a huge surprise to me. I thought the eagle was gonna talk or something, or I thought there would be more interaction with the eagle, and I like that there wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying I missed it or anything, but it really did not go the direction I thought it would go. And I did think that the giant was gonna have some sort of conversion, but like I said, I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad that it unfolded the way it did, and right up till the end, though. I mean, right up till the very end, it could have gone either way. It was surprising.
What did you think about the spider juice or whatever that they could put on the heart? What did you think that was kind of about?
Well, probably the feminine. Yeah, probably the feminine, sort of like deflating the dark masculine. I've never heard of spider's juice.
I know.
What did you think about it?
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of fun. Spider juice that they put, it shrinks it down, and they keep shrinking it as it starts to get big again.
Yeah. That is
and
fun.
It was interesting that he could feel it when they were doing it, even though it was away, you know. But why would the spiders have that juice?
Yeah. Right.
It's interesting that the spiders had it.
Yeah, of all the animals, he chose spiders to have.
The spiders are the best characters.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, I love that.
They're just fun.
I know. I love I just love the way they put things. And
it's like they were just ready for them to come.
There's like a grandfather spider leading the army.
Yeah.
How great is that?
It's like they were drilled to do that.
And I love them, thinking about them floating down in their little like parachutes almost, you know, that they made as they're being kicked off the eagle.
It's almost like they took joy in tormenting the eagle.
Oh yeah, he had caught the bees, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And then 6 of the wisest of the spiders came back with them, and they were all, oh my gosh, I love this. They were looking down on them in contemplation, as if wondering whether they would be nice eating. It's interesting because I think in George MacDonald, so many of his tales are based on like the north wind, or I don't know, east of the moon and west of the sun, and all these things. And it's like in these fairy stories that I referenced, like they depend on the elements. I'm thinking about The Frog Princess, where after Ivan loses his beautiful wife, he has to rely on a bear and a pike and a duck. And so they still remain wild creatures. So the spiders are still wild, you know, they're still thinking that Trixie Wee and Buffy Bob might be good to eat. And yet it's through their wild sort of animal wisdom that they help.
Yeah. True.
They're using, you know, honey from bees that they've caught. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
But yeah, why spiders of all animals? I just think there's something of the dark feminine there, but
yeah, I'm not sure if George MacDonald uses spiders in any other story that I'm aware of. say I haven't read all of his stories, but I don't recall spiders being in them. That's why it's kind of unique,
Yeah.
kind of extra fun.
Yeah. The singing, springing lark, that's the fairy tale I'm trying to think of. Okay. Yeah.
Wonder when that was written.
Well, I think this is the Brothers Grimm, so
Oh.
I think it's as
When were those?
old
written?
as the hills. Well, what they did was they went around and they listened to all of the oral fairy tales of Germany and surrounding areas, and then they wrote them down. And I think that was, was that the 1700s? Let's see, Brothers
Okay.
Grimm.
So that would have been around in George MacDonald's day then.
But a lot of these stories were being told for
Yeah.
generations orally, and they just had never been really
I see.
written down in a collected form like the Brothers Grimm had put them. So yeah, but nevertheless, I mean, George MacDonald was Scottish, and so
Yeah.
I think Scottish fairy tales are their own unique brand. But I think what you find, at least, like, you know, there's fairy tales in India that are similar to fairy tales in Europe, and they just have these really universal themes and images. And so even though he was Scottish, there might be Scottish fairy tales, or he could have just been exposed to the German fairy tales too. You never know, but yeah.
Well, they talked about being like he said the giant tales were common or something.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, gosh. Yeah, I wanted to learn more about that. I guess I was looking in my Andrew Long, the Yellow Fairy book, for some stories about giants. I think there's one in there. But yeah, you know, I still want to hunt down a good Scottish fairy tale anthology, or just see where else
Yeah.
giants show up in fairy tales.
Where that comes from.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't help but wonder too how much of this is just a reflection of George MacDonald's inner life. Because it's one thing to regurgitate a fairy tale, but it's another to use the images and tell a story that reflects your inner self. And I don't know. I have no idea, but I feel like a lot of his stories do reflect his sermons and
Yeah.
his
I
life. I
agree.
mean, I can't help but think that that he was able to use these images to show what was going on within himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing. I'm listening to a book by Robert Johnson called Inner Work, and he said having a relationship with your unconscious is a powerful thing. And when I think about great authors that I admire, like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and George MacDonald and their stories, I can't help but think that was their relationship with their unconscious, and that can be such a life-giving thing and creative thing. It seems very delicate. I mean, one scratch will kill it.
Yeah.
All she has to do is pinch it, and it brings,
Yeah.
brings Thunderthump to
it
his
out.
knees. I mean, even though it's big, it's very delicate. I mean, I think it's a testament how inflated egos are super
there's-
delicate. And that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I do think it definitely represents his ego and pride.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And even when they have the heart and they're forcing him to say not to not wear his stockings, he's still, you can tell he's not being truthful.
Yeah. These things that frighten us in our inner life, they are delicate. I mean, they might seem like giants to us, but with the right playful outwitting, and I don't think it takes much to assimilate them in the end and
Mm-hmm.
bring them down to size. But it does take a journey, and I like that it is a journey for them. I mean, they encounter larks and birds and spiders and eagles, and they climb mountains. I mean, it's not easy per se. It is a journey, but at the same time, the thing that they're trying to get and conquer is delicate in the end.
Mm-hmm. It still doesn't really say like what they were after. They just all of a sudden got roped into this adventure.
Yeah, that's
You
interesting.
know, after teasing each other.
Yeah.
But they just like went into it.
Yeah.
Like somehow they just wanted to bring justice to the giant and the kids. But it doesn't say that they went home or Buffy Bob and Trixie Wee at the end. It just...
Do you think they went home or not?
I don't know. I'm assuming they did, but...
Well, let's continue the story.
There wasn't like a happy ever after. It was just... The giant was dead, and that was pretty much it, right? Or did I miss...
No, I mean, literally, there's a huge fountain of blood and a groan, and he falls dead at the feet of little Trixie Wee. And I mean, she's like, she could not help but feel sorry for him after all. And
that was the end.
I love that, though. I mean,
but yeah, it doesn't say that they then went home or just ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just maybe that's just the way that fairy tales are, but
no, I feel like they usually say, and they lived many happy years together. Or they married, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think they went on, or I mean, it definitely seems like they don't really want to have anything more to do with Giant Land. In the hostage situation with the heart, one of the things that Trixie Wee says is like, you can't cross the border again. And so they want that separation between Giant Land and their own home. And so I feel that they would have gone home and not returned.
I thought maybe at the end there would be like some kind of lesson, like they realized they shouldn't be quarreling with each other anymore or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
but that's not the message of the story. But
I don't know that there really is a moral, which I like. I love that, honestly, because I was a little worried. Again, there was going to be a big conversion, and like Trixie and Buffy Bob were going to get what they wanted, which is to teach the giant morals. But that doesn't happen, and I do really love that. And we'll see what the next few weeks have to hold. We don't have our next story picked out. So actually, listeners, if you have any suggestions for us for a poem or a short story or a sermon at this point, I mean, we can break it up if it's longer, but we'd love to hear your suggestions. And we have gained more followers on these platforms, so thank you for that. And thank you so much for listening to this episode of the George MacDonald Enough podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please check out our Patreon page. We have support levels for as little as $3 per month. We also have a website where you can contact us, which is georgemacdonaldandus.com, and that is also in the show notes. And we will see you next time. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you all.